Hey everybody, EternallyPrussian here again for the Helping You to Choose Your Weapon series. In this video I'm going to be covering the sniper rifles as well as the bow and arrow, and of course a special appearance by the miter, because it's also in the sniper rifle category. I'm holding the Vandal version of a discontinued weapon, the Snipetron. I personally like this weapon, but I covered that in a discontinued weapons review, and that's going to be a little two-part series. So this is going to be the sniper rifles and bows and arrows. When it comes to sniper rifles, one of the first things that probably catches your eye is the Vectis. This is a bolt-action, for lack of better word, sniper rifle. A fairly quick reload speed, but every time you shoot it, you have to reload. It basically acts like a bolt-action with a near bottomless clip. It has a fairly nice amount of damage in both impact and puncture, but you'll find that the impact damage is felt a little bit more by most of the troopers or enemies you encounter. So this might not be bad against Corpus, but it does have some pretty incredible one-hitting power, and as you'd expect by a sniper rifle, its damage is insane when it crits. I've seen this thing do upwards of 1,000 unmodded, so if you're looking for something that'll just punch a massive hole in enemies, you're going to want the Vectis. As you can see here, I don't actually own the Volcar. That's because I personally detest the Volcar. I think when it came out, the Snipetron was still around, and it was an absolutely detestable sniper rifle. No armor piercing, did little to no damage, even when it did armor pierce, and the Snipetron already came pre-pierced and had so much more to it. The Volcar focuses, as you can see, on impact damage. I don't personally own the thing, but it seems very akin to the Vectis it seems to have a little less power to it. So although it may seem higher in impact, I personally think that the Vectis is still a better choice than picking this thing up. That may be personal opinion, however. This is the Dread. This is a slash-based bow and arrow that is actually wielded by the Stalker, and it certainly lives up to how powerful it is, despite the fact that the string doesn't go back with the arrow. It's a wonderful weapon that I use against Infested, and because it comes pre-piercing, meaning that it has a chance to pierce through enemies, not always through objects, but through enemies, it can just knock down a line of Infested no problem, and that's what makes it such a lethal tool. It does occasionally impale, which it's not supposed to do, but the chance is still there. It's a great bow and arrow, so I recommend picking it up. This is the classic Tenno bow and arrow that was released with Banshee. This is the Paris, a bow and arrow that focuses primarily on puncture damage, and its slash and impact obviously don't have much going for it. But puncture is where it's at, and against Grineer, this is one of the best weapons you can use. Bows I file under sniper rifle, simply because it uses sniper rifle ammo and acts like one, and for a while was actually the ideal alternative to picking up a sniper rifle. So this weapon I use quite frequently. Pick it up if you get the chance. This is the Cyrnos. Yes, I know it's the Cyrnos, but I'm a Toho nerd, so get over it. This is the bow and arrow's answer to the Volcar. It does some very nice impact damage. Its puncture and slash are non-existent, basically, and it actually does impale enemies, technically, despite being an impact weapon. This is good to use against, say, Corpus shielding units or anything else that seems to not take well to being impacted, and it also deals a little bit of stun by impact effect. And again, because it's a bow and arrow slash sniper weapon, it has a pretty nice status. It has a pretty nice status chance, and its critical, well, does some really nice damage as well. Now, this is not terribly useful against Grineer, but I added the addition of Thunderbolts on this as well as my Dread, and it became more all-around than I thought it would be. So it's certainly worth looking at if you're looking for a nice impact weapon to go for distance. As an additional feature, this will also be listed under sniper rifle bow and arrow because it uses sniper ammo. This is the miter, an extremely heavily slash-based weapon that fires serrated razor discs that come piercing when you fully charge it up. The charge trigger is actually a huge benefit to it because it has 20 ammo per clip. You can carry around a little bit over 100 sniper rifle ammo with a maxed out ammunition mod, so if you just plan on spam firing this like most eviscerators, you're going to run short on ammo very quickly. But you'll find that if you take the time to charge it and you kill enemies or you try and line them up, especially in survival missions, you can deal in unfathomable amounts of damage on a kill. I mean, I've seen this thing rip through 8 enemies in a row, and it was beautiful. So, although the Miter is very hard to get, you have to go to Iliad on Phobos and hopefully get all the parts for it. It's a weapon worth having around. So if you either have the plat for it, which is recommended, or you want to grind Iliad for about 10 years, you can get the Miter. Last but certainly not least is the Lanka. This is the Corpus Research Sniper Rifle that is actually a railgun that deals all electric damage. If you don't know what a railgun is, a railgun is essentially a weapon that fires an energy beam or bolt that travels straight and looks like a rail oftentimes. This is as close as it gets. However, it does not come pre-puncture through, so you're going to probably want to add a piercing mod to, not piercing damage, but a piercing mod to make sure that it goes through enemies and can act like a real railgun. It is unusual in its method of its fire rate because it's a charge trigger, and if you don't charge it all the way, your damage is going to be a little less than substantial. So that should tell you something right off the bat. It does have a less powerful with a less charged form, so you hold down the trigger for about half a second and you'll let off a less powerful shot, but there's no sense lollygagging around and just going with half-ass when you can go all the way and deal some pretty nice damage. I feel it's a little too faction-specific, as the Corpus robots tend to be the only thing weak to electricity that you really get to face. And although you can do electric damage to bosses with its pretty nice 25% status chance, it ends up being a little more trouble than it's worth sometimes. But nonetheless, still a nice weapon. So that is it from the sniper rifles, and next we'll be covering the launchers and miscellaneous.